being my friend, and it wasn't because of the HIV. I think it's because of the sexuality. I think she had a crush on me, and she realized it wasn't going to go anywhere. So she disappeared. But nobody else rejected me. Nobody. My friend Juliet, who I told, we were sitting in an ice cream store, eating ice cream. I always have the same ice cream. I always taste everything there behind the counter, and end up getting the same thing every time, right? I taste everything, and then I get coffee, peanut butter crunch. So I was eating my coffee, peanut butter crunch cone, and I told her I had HIV. And she came over to me, and she licked my cone. And I said, what'd you do that for? She said, because I want to prove to you that I'm not afraid of you, and I see you just the way I saw you 2 minutes ago. So I knew how sweet is that, right? She's so awesome. Juliet. Yeah, so I never got rejected. Now that's different than my family. My brothers, my sister, my sister was okay with it. My older brother was not okay with it. My twin brother not okay with it. My parents had a hard time with it because they had more to lose by losing me, right? A friend, yeah, that's sad. My parents, my brothers, they've known me all my life. The thought of me dying is greater loss to them than someone who's only known me for 3 to 4 years. So my friends took it okay. Family had a hard time with it. Understandably, I get that. And if people rejected me, I guess I wouldn't know it. They just disappeared. Like, you know, how many of you came up and hugged me today? There were enough of you who just didn't even want to talk to me. Or some of you didn't want to shake my hand because they were a little freaked out by me. I wouldn't know because they didn't come up to me. So there are people that don't want to be my friend because of my HIV, or because I'm gay, or because I'm so out in life. But I wouldn't know it because they're out. They don't want to be near me. And I'm missing out on touch with them, and they are with me. But for the most part, I think it was. And why is that? Because when you tell somebody a secret about your life, generally what happens is they tell you a secret about their lives. They end up wanting to open up to you. You make them trustworthy when you offer them a secret. You make them trustworthy. And then they think, wow, maybe I want to share with you something about my life. And so when I tell people what's going on for me, they end up telling me about, one friend of mine told me that she was raped in high school. One friend told me that her parents, that she wishes her parents would get divorced. The things they tell you, their secrets, the words in their pockets, when you reveal yours. You end up being a better friend than you ever thought you could be, or you ever thought you were. Right? Think about it. Questions? Yes?
Your boyfriend that you showed in the video, how was he infected?
Thank you for asking about Michael. Nobody ever asks about Michael. I'm so glad. I always say, that's my boyfriend, 1992, died in 93. Nobody ever asks about Michael. What was the question?
How long was he infected for? And it's like,
I only met him, I don't know how long he was infected for, because I met Michael in an HIV support group, right? He was one of the guys on Tuesday night, and I looked at him and thought, oh my God, he's so good looking, and I kept trying to find excuses to get to know him, and then finally we just started getting closer and closer, and we started dating. I loved him so much, and I still do. I mean, he died in 93, and I still love him, and that's what love is. Love doesn't have time, right? It's outside of time. So the love is still there. I don't know how long he was infected before I met him, because I met him in that support group. But we dated for a year, and then he died. And he died a very gruesome death. Bled to death. He had no platelets left. So every time they kept trying to pack the wound, he just kept bleeding out, and finally, he had that and a parasite that caused him not to be able to absorb any nutrients, so he wasted away between bleeding and not having any more nutrition inside of him. He wasted away. He died. It was a horrible death. And I wasn't there the moment he died. I got a phone call the moment he died from someone in the hospital, and I ran over to say goodbye to him. But I'll tell you something really interesting. I went to visit him all the time in the hospital. And the day he died, I was in my apartment down the block from the hospital. It was St. Vincent's Hospital. Some of you know that St. Vincent's Hospital just closed its doors. It was the AIDS hospital in the city at the time. So down the block from where I live, in the village. And I was going to go visit him later that night. I knew he was dying, but I thought, I'm going to just stay here. I'm going to go visit him at 7:30 at visiting hours. And at 4 o'clock on January 3rd, I felt really tired, really just, I'm like, I don't feel well kind of a thing. I don't know how to describe it. I don't feel well. So I just said, you know what, I'm going to lay down. And I'm one of those guys that doesn't take a nap. I don't believe in naps. I got too much to do. I mean, I love naps, don't get me wrong. But I don't have time to take a nap, right? So, and for me to lay down means something's not right. So I just remember lying down thinking, something's not right, something's not right. I don't feel well. I laid down for 20 minutes. At 4:20, the phone rang. This is before cell phones. This is 1993. I got up to get the phone, and Stephanie, his best friend, said, Michael just died. So my body knew it. And that's what happens when you love somebody. You're in there. You're connected. My body knew he had died. It was telling me he had died. And I jumped up. I ran down the street. I didn't even get a visitor pass. I ran to the elevator in the hospital, ran up, and there he was in the hospital bed. And he had died, and he was still so beautiful to me. Thank you for asking this question. I never talk about Michael. I looked at him and I thought, God, he's dead, and he's so handsome. He's so beautiful. And I put my hand on the top of his head because I was taught in my HIV support group by some people who believe this to be true, I don't know if it's true, that when the body dies, the spirit and soul leaves through the head. That's what one of the people said, right? That's what I was. So I put my hand on his head. I didn't feel anything, right? Because it had been like 11 minutes or so since I was out of breath, running to the hospital. And I put my hand in his heart, and he was still warm. Because when you die of a disease in the hospital bed, basically what happens is the blood rushes to the heart to keep the heart pumping, and the extremities get cold. So his heart was still warm. That region, that place down his heart was still warm, and he was so beautiful. And I just thought, God, I just love this man. And then at his memorial service, a few weeks later, we had a memorial service for him. A few weeks later, his mother came, and she said, nice to meet you. I didn't know he had so many friends. And I wanted to say, well, that was my boyfriend. Your son was my boyfriend. But he wasn't out to his mother, and I wasn't part of that world. So, a lot of secrets. My boyfriend died of AIDS, and his mother didn't know who I was. Right? That was a tough day for me. But I had to pull myself away and realize it's a tough day for me. It's much harder for her. She's the mom. This is the big one for her. So her loss. Thanks for asking about him. His name is Michael Galt. He was a beautiful guy. And, yeah. January 3rd, 1993. He died. Okay, questions? Yes.
Have you seen, with your friends who have died, people who, when they first heard about it, pulled away, but then they die, and suddenly at the funeral they go, oh, I miss this person.
I was that person. I remember, I lost 100, I think the number is between 29 and 31. I have to go back to the computer chart. The document on my computer is called death in my Microsoft Word, and I have to count the names. I think it's up to 131, but it might be 129. Is that crazy? No, right? So I became that to some of those friends. I didn't go to 129 funerals or cremation ceremonies or memorial services. In fact, some of them I just ignored. And one of the ones I ignored was Richie. Remember I showed you the video and I said Richie was my 73rd friend to die of AIDS. I miss him the most. I didn't go to his funeral. I didn't even watch him die. I couldn't. It was because I went to so many hospitals. I was like, I can't do this anymore. And when I said goodbye to him, he was okay. And he wasn't. It was a few weeks before he would actually die when he needed me the most. But I couldn't go back. I said goodbye and I knew that was it. I'm not going the distance with him because I can't. I just did it with Jennifer and with Dennis, and I did it with Jeffrey. I can't do it with Rich. I became that person. And I had to learn to forgive myself, to know that, you can only do what you can do. It's okay. He knew, and why he was such a good friend was Richie knew that I loved him. Richie knew what was good about me. He didn't need me to be there. And most of all, if it hurt me, and he didn't need me to be in pain. In fact, the last thing Richie ever said to me was, when I gave a kiss goodbye, he said, go back to dance class, because I used to be a dancer. I was a professional dancer for a while. And he said, go back to dance class. And I said, no, I'm done. I'm 35 or something. I don't want to go back to dance class anymore. I'm tired of it. And he said, go. And I said, why, Richie? Why should I go to dance class? I don't want to go. And he said, you can. Go because you can. I can't dance. He used to be a dancer too, before he became a doctor. He said, I can't dance. anymore. So go.